Hello everyone, today we will be discussing about some of the amazing tips and some of the myths on how you can really come up or appear on Google Discover. But before diving into that, let us first understand what Google Discover actually means. So basically, Google Discover is a feed or a personalized feed that can appear in the homepage of your Google iOS or your Android app, and once again this is fully personalized. So I'm going to bring Subhajit, our SEO analyst, onto the screen, and he will share some of his own tips by which you can make the best utilization of this opportunity, and maybe you can have your website next appear on Google Discover.
So as I have discussed before, there are three types of Google news that pops up in your feed. So basically the one is the top news, the second is the personalized news or what we call Google Discover, and the third is the recent highlighted news. Today we're going to talk about the second part, that is the Google Discover and how to optimize for it. So as I said, Google Discover is basically the personalized section of Google News in which Google shows up shows you articles on based on your preferences and search activity. Now this is actually the hardest part to optimize for SEO. So I would like to give a disclaimer that it is very hard to optimize your articles for Google Discover, since it is based on the user's preferences. So whatever the users likes and interests, based on which the Google shows his articles. So if your niche is not really under the preference of the user, you might not even show for his or her Google Discover feed. But it is a very essential, very good way to target your particular audience. So if you already have a good subscriber list and you have a engaged audience, perhaps you would show up in their Discover feed. So that's a good way to get traffic. So some of the ranking factors in Google is to use first of all is Schema Markup, where you have to make sure that your articles have proper article schema. Second would be to have a high subscriber list. So if you have a good amount of subscriber list in your in your articles, it means that you have an engaged audience. So that's a good way to get more more and more people or have your articles show up in more and more people's Google Discover feed. Another would be to follow all the SEO best practices for your article. So having a good user experience on your article is a very good way to have your articles show up in the Google Discover feeds. Apart from that, there are some other best practices that you can see in the screen, and you can follow them to make sure that your articles show up in Google Discover feed of your target audience. Now let's get on to some of the myths. So the first myth is about using AMP pages. So it has been long taken in the SEO industry that AMP pages tend to show up more in Google's Discover. But however, Google has confirm this, that AMP pages no longer get more preference in Google News. In fact, AMP is no longer a very good indicator that Google will use it to rank your pages in Google. So it is not necessary to transform your articles into AMP or implement AMP in your articles, because so as an alternative you can just optimize your pages for page experience and improve your core web vitals. I think that is more better to give an overall better experience to your users. Another myth is that the more your articles have links from external sources, the more it has chances of getting into Google Discover. However, that is completely not true, because Google Discover is all about personalized feeds and is based on the user's activity. So links basically don't make sense. Yes, links may give some authority to your content, so more authoritative content may show up, but it is not really a thing. I have seen sites with 10 DX showing up in Google feeds, news feeds, even in the Discover as well. So basically, what's trending, what's new, and what's according to the preference of the users, it shows up in Google News. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you very much.
So some of the key takeaways what we can take on Google Discover is that the first thing, this is a myth still, because this can work or this cannot work, depends upon the tactics or the strategies as provided by Subhajit. The second thing is, you can always try to re-optimize, and you can always try all the very best optimization strategies and the procedures to make sure that you do appear on the Google Discovery, because if you do, then the third most important point, you can get tons of traffic and brand visibility, which can be very useful and very promising for your own brand. Thanks for watching.